What's up, YouTube? It's Blake Leapart here again with episode 3 of Lean Six Sigma Talk with me, Blake. So, in this episode, we're going to get into what are the similarities, differences, techniques that involve between Lean and Six Sigma. So, it's sort of the foundational sort of episode to build upon the different techniques that we will have in future episodes. So if you liked my previous two episodes, the introduction and then last week's real content episode on employee suggestion systems, make sure you like or subscribe to my channel. That way you can continue to get updates on new topics related to Lean and Six Sigma that I post. Try on a weekly basis. I try to do it on a weekly basis. So this is the third week, and this is episode 3 here. So as I mentioned a minute ago, we're going to get into, what are the differences between Lean and Six Sigma and what are the similarities. There's going to be some things I talk about that I'm not going to go quite in depth with in this episode, but we will get into in future episodes or talk about later in the series on the channel. But these are a few things that we're just going to kind of gloss over in this episode, so that way you get the main differences or the main similarities between Lean and Six Sigma, sort of as a foundational concept here. So both Lean and Six Sigma operate under the overarching umbrella of continuous improvement. So continually looking at processes, continuing to look at ways you do things and make them better in an incremental fashion. So that's what Lean and Six Sigma are identified under, is under continuous improvement. And so to focus kind of on Lean first, Lean's main goal is to systematically identify and eliminate inefficiencies, or in the continuous improvement world, we call inefficiencies waste in a process. It's just a systematic way to go about identifying them, identifying the root cause, and eradicating them or eliminating them. There are, 8 forms of waste, or broad categories of waste, or inefficiencies in a process. They spell out the acronym downtime, DOWNTIME. So, that will probably be the focus of an episode later in the series, but just to kind of briefly tell you what they are, the D stands for defects, so not doing something right the first time, something that's not up to standard or quality standard. The O is overproduction, so producing too much of what you need at a particular point in the process. So an example here is you make 15 copies of something when you only need 1 or 2 for this process step. The W is waiting, so idle time in the process. N is not using human potential, which basically means by process design, there are certain steps in a process where some employees are have a lot of idle time, whereas others do not. They're running around like with their hair on fire, for instance. So that's really what that means. Is it's not having unqualified or slack folks in your process. It's by process design, because the whole goal of continuous improvement is to indict the process, not the people that run the process. We assume that everybody wants to come in and do a good job. So that's what not using human potential is, and what the N is for in the acronym downtime. Then you get to the T, which is transportation. So moving around your product too much. Are you having to transport it through the manufacturing floor or the production line too much? You've got this widget being produced on this line, but then you have to turn around and move it away across the floor to this line to get something done. That's transportation. I is inventory, so keeping too much of what you need, having excess inventory. Everybody knows that inventory ties up cash flow, ties up money. So do you have an optimal inventory amount? And that's where lean manufacturing really focuses on. If you've heard that term, that's applying lean concepts in a manufacturing setting, and that's really what inventory is really what lean manufacturing focuses on. Then you get into the M, which is motion. Are you yourself moving around too much in the process? So transportation is moving the widget around, but you yourself having to move. So you print something out and have to go across the factory floor up 10 flights of stairs to go get it. That's really what motion is. And E is extra processing. So do you have too many steps in your process that are non-value added to the customer? So really look at your process and identify their unnecessary, unneeded steps. So those are the 8 forms of waste that Lean really tries to identify and eliminate or reduce as much as possible. Like I said, we'll get into those more in detail in a later episode, but just as a surface level introduction, that's what those are. So Lean is all about establishing that process workflow, that process sequence. So mapping out a process so you can visually see it and identify where those wastes may occur in that particular process. So that's really what Lean is all about. It also helps to identify any bottlenecks in your process. So similar to the 8 forms of waste, a bottleneck could occur somewhere in that process where there's too much waiting or whatnot. So it really helps to identify those as well. And its ultimate goal is to maximize value to the customer. So, put yourself in your customer's shoes. And we're actually going to get into a specific tool that helps with this in a later episode called the Kano diagram, where you actually put yourself in the voice of the customer, or you put yourself in the customer's shoes as the voice of the customer. So put yourself in the customer's shoes. What would be value to you? What would you be willing to pull out your checkbook and pay for? That's really what we're getting into when we say voice of the customer, providing value to the customer. So those are really the main goals or focus for Lean. Now, Six Sigma is sort of a statistical look at continuous improvement. So whereas Lean is focusing on identifying and eliminating waste, Six Sigma is really looking at reducing variation or defects in a process. So by statistical methods or statistical means, where are the outliers? Where are the products or services that are non-conforming to quality? Where do they occur at in your process? That's what Six Sigma is all about. And Six Sigma gets its name because it is striving for a goal of only 3.4 defects per million opportunities, which basically equates to 99.999.66% defect free is what that equates to. So that's really Six Sigma standard of quality, reducing those defects in a process, those non-conforming products or widgets in a process. Like I said, it uses statistical tools to get there. There's a plethora of tools that we're going to get into in later episodes about, what you can use to identify or to see where those non-conforming parts are through, statistical process control charts, customer specification limits, control chart limits, things like that. We'll get into in later episodes, but that's really what you're looking at when you're looking at the Six Sigma statistical side of things. And then Six Sigma really uses what we call DMAIC, which is another acronym. It's DMAIC. And that is sort of the methodology that gets you through a Six Sigma process. So the first step, or the D, is define. Define your problem, define the issue that's going on. Then you get into the M, which is measure. Measure what's going on. What's your baseline? How's your current process operating? And then the A is, analyze. Analyze what you just measured. What's the data telling you? What are the implications there? Then the I is improve. Implement your solutions. Identify, brainstorm, look at those solutions, and implement them. That's what the improvement step is all about. And then the last is the C, which is control. Now that you've implemented your solutions, measure it and make sure that what you've identified and implemented is really helping you, improving the data that you measured, and controlling the output that you get to see if there needs to be additional incremental improvement. So that's the DMAIC process, and we'll really break that down in our Six Sigma steps, and there's tools associated with each of those DMAIC steps that we'll get into. So I mentioned like control charting, statistical process control charts. A lot of that comes into play in the measure phase, the analysis phase, and even in the improve and control phase. So we'll get into what those are in each step of the process. So that's really what Six Sigma is all about. Now, I mentioned those are the differences. Now, the similarities between the two are that, like I said earlier, they're both under continuous improvement, and they both overlap each other in certain areas. And so they both have the ultimate goal of providing the most efficient methods to companies to provide value to customers and to eliminate variation in a process. So they both have the same goal of making your company more efficient, making it more effective, and providing that value to customers. It's also there to maximize the value that your products and services have towards the customer. And you can apply both to production companies and service-oriented companies. So if you go and Google Lean and Six Sigma, what are the similarities and differences, you'll get experts all over the spectrum here on, can Lean be applied in service sector? Can, Six Sigma be applied to both, etc. I'm of the opinion that both can be applied to both production, manufacturing-oriented companies as well as service-oriented. My company, for instance, has both. We're service-oriented, but we also have a production line or assembly component. We apply Lean to both facets. We apply Six Sigma to both facets. So they both can be applied to service-oriented, and they both can be applied to manufacturing-oriented. So I'm here to testify that you can apply both through the different tools to both. So that's how they're similar. And again, they both are efficient methods to drive home improvement for your business. So if you really are interested in improving your company, you've got a bottom line that keeps decreasing in a negative way to where, you know that you could be more profitable, that you could, provide greater value to a customer. How do you go about doing that? Look at Lean and Six Sigma. Look at what they provide and really look into what they could do. There's different consultants out there that can help with that aspect. I actually provide kind of some pointers to certain companies that ask me. So there's different ways you can go about understanding Lean and Six Sigma. And then, like I mentioned in episode 2, use Ideas America. That's a good organization that can help you. They do charge a fee, but for that fee, they can do cultural assessments, they can do establishment of Lean Six Sigma programs, that type of thing. So really look into that. So other than that, that's really about all we will get into this episode. Was really a quick and efficient way to give you what the main differences between Lean are and Six Sigma, and what the similarities are. So in next week's episode, we'll probably start introducing a specific tool for one of these. It's either going to probably be on the Lean side, either value stream mapping, or on the Six Sigma side, we'll start to get into the define stage. What do you use in the define stage as tools to start your DMAIC journey in a Six Sigma process? I haven't quite decided which one we're going to go with yet, but episode 4 will either be diving into the Lean value stream mapping or the define stage of Six Sigma. So that's kind of what we have on tap for episode 4. Like I said, I really appreciate you tuning in. If you like what you heard or you like my content on my channel, make sure you subscribe to it and view my videos. And if you have any comments or questions, make sure you just leave them in the comments section of the video. So really appreciate it. And till next week, we'll see you then. Bye now for Lean Six Sigma Talk with Blake.